Hey guys, it's Phil coming at you with another video. Today I'm going to be releasing a study group to you guys that I did on 6-1. That was a question and answer that is helping people that have failed the exam come back at it, giving them tips on how to refocus themselves as well as overcome self-doubt that they have for themselves. But before we get into that, 30 people have passed their exam since the last time I did a video, which is amazing to me. So let's get into it, guys. Patricia G, Chantel G, Tanya B, Denise G, Cindy C, Jennifer P, Larry P, Carrie S, Laura, Heather H, Ashley P, Francine C, Cassie H, Nancy S, Julie W, Ellen D, Donna M, Martin L, Ruby L, Barbara F, Bailey S, Shanae FM, Val Z, Sarah L, Dawn I, Stephanie H, Gijane C, Michelle A, Carissa C, Julie M, and that is amazing. So if you want me to read your name off as well, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. And so far this year, 271 people have passed their exams. That is amazing to me. And those are just the people that have emailed me, so I'm sure there's more, but it's super duper wild. So at the beginning of the year, I only thought 100 people were going to pass. So we hit that goal, and then someone said do 250 people. So I set that goal, and I didn't even think we were going to hit that. So we have had 271. So comment down below what number you think we should go for next, because I'm not even sure how many people can pass based on the tips and strategies that are provided. It blows my mind, and I'm super duper blessed to be able to do everything that you guys allow me to do, which is pretty much help you guys with anything in any capacity. So if you ever have any questions for me, please reach out to me. And something that I've been hearing a lot about is people having a lot of negative influences, whether within themselves or around them. So if you have a lot of negative things, it's going to tend to lead to negative results. So you have to make sure that you surround yourself and are doing positive things for yourself and utilizing positive self-talk. Because if you are doubting yourself and telling yourself you can't do something, the likelihood of you not being able to do something dramatically increases. So I always tell people, make sure you're telling yourself positive things such as you can do this, I am smart enough, I am intelligent enough, this just wasn't my time, and I'm going to keep going and keep driving and keep doing it until I get what I need and keep accomplishing my goals in my time, not in anyone else's time. So a good way to overcome this self-doubt is surrounding yourself with like-minded people as well as positive people that are going to pour into you and make sure they're contributing to your prep program. A lot of times people will surround themselves with people and they aren't always the best influences, whether they're dragging you down, whether they're telling you unhelpful things for your process, or you guys just have different styles, and just because it worked for someone else doesn't mean it's going to always work for you. So always make sure that you're learning based on your needs and your learning style and what you want for yourself, not what someone thinks that you need or thinks that you want. And a lot of times people are surrounding themselves with way too many things, so they're just machine gunning technique, and we need to get you to the point where your sniper technique, focusing on one thing, focusing on what you're good at, as well as honing in on your styles and strengths rather than reflecting on the weaknesses and the drawbacks. So embrace the positive things in your life, as well as bring positive people in your life that are going to push you, they have the same goals, and they have the same drive as you do, because you won't get on that cohesive path with somebody. It's unstoppable. But if you have people pulling you back, regardless of how talented and how strong and how smart you are not going to be able to propel yourself where you want to go. As well as oftentimes people are not processing and talking about what they're struggling with or what stress that they have. So it's silent, and silence breeds and grows deeply with suffering. So you can suffer in silence, but if you start talking about what is bothering you and what's going on and what things that you need or what are not going well for you, it instantly releases a wave of positively, as well as lifts a weight off of your shoulders, so that way you can start getting the help that you possibly need with and for yourself. So take care of yourself, exercise that self-care, start investing in yourself, as well as focus on your needs and no one else's, because this exam is entirely all about you, as well as trying to give back to other people and connecting with people, because this is a social work, so we have to put the social back in the social worker. But I'll leave it at that, guys. And if you guys are interested in my paid study groups, the next ones are as follows: 721, DSM-5, and medications, but more emphasis on medications in this one. and connected to the disorders. 728, research program development, program evaluation, community. 8.4, stages of treatment and diversity. And then 8.11, the acronym group and practice questions. And yes, that is coming back, which is probably going to fill up super duper quick. So if you're interested in any of those, my email is berda24@gmail.com, as well as if you want to connect with me or connect with other people, as well as get updates on my study groups, my videos, as well as little tidbits throughout the week. My Facebook group is Fill in the Gaps LLC. Information and links for that will be in the description, as well as will be on the screen during the video. And again, guys, I'm so appreciative for everything that you guys do and support me. So thumbs up this video if you're excited, and if you've been rocking with me. Comment down below any things that you like, that you don't like, or anything that you want to see. And subscribe for more videos, guys, because we are going to keep doing this and keep creating waves and promoting people and empowering as many people as we possibly can. Again, guys, I appreciate you guys. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.
All right. First question. Do involuntary committed clients have rights to leave against medical advice? And do they have the right to refuse medications? So when we're getting into, and we'll do IVC for involuntary clients, do not have rights at the point of being committed, since in order for involuntary to happen, the person must be at risk of self-harm, harm to others, or both. So if someone's at that risk, then we tend to keep them inside until they're stabilized, because if we let them go off, it is a risk to the community as well as society. So we tend not to let them they have rights, of course. We're not like inhumanely beating them down or anything like that, but the right to refuse treatment as well as medications to stabilize has been kind of taken away at that point, because it's viewed as they're more of a risk to others than in themselves, so they intentionally would not have their own like say over their condition until they stabilize and become in the right mind state of like mental status. So of course, when you're hospitalized, stabilizing and then monitoring the person's mental status. So the length of time is dependent on how effective the meds can possibly be, as well as their treatment there. Can you go over how to apply the acronym you typically use? So the acronym is utilized with application questions. So simplify what an application question is. Typically a clinical scenario that we need to respond to. And the acronym is safety, feelings, assess, refer, educate, advocate, facilitate, and intervene, which is a hierarchical little order. So if there's no safety concerns, which is ironic, the last question, if there's safety concerns, then that would precedent over all of it. If not, and they're in the right mental status, well, then we need to view their situation, see what they want for their services. Then we have to assess it. Then we either decide if we're treating or if someone else is treating. Then we need to refer out if we're not going to be the person treating them. And then if not, tell them the process. And then if not, we follow the channels of advocate, facilitate, or intervene as well. What is a good strategy to have when taking in the exam or the test? Sorry, they said test, not exam. So my biggest suggestion, have a prep or plan that is tailored to your specific needs, and without the person's particular case or them being able to tell me what they're actually going through. Hard for me to provide practical tips for them or with them. Are social workers mandated people when they are off the clock? Yes. Safety never stops. So, roaming about the community, you see someone, just like a paramedic, if they see somebody that's about to die or unconscious, they wouldn't just be like, nope, can't do CPR, because they're always on the clock to save the benefit of everyone else. So, however, again, be aware of what the conditions are and whether you are the person who is seeing the situation or if someone else is. And then in the case, if someone else is telling you about the situation, empower them to make the decision to report, because you don't want everything always on your shoulders. So couples therapy, when to address issues separately, always together. So when in couples therapy, keep issues in the session. So, and in a weird sticky situation you typically have, if a couple, or if one of the people in the couple, so half of the treatment team, so half of the treatment team comes to you with an issue, you direct or prompt them to bring it up in session. So it's kind of rare that you'd have someone that would just do an independent thing that wasn't complementing the services as well. So can you help specify or simplify id, ego, and superego? Yes. So I had somebody actually ask me this question earlier today. So, and I always do it in a hierarchical order. So ID, impulsive decision making, and then ego, we'll use the word play again, ID, id, independent, impulsive decision, ego, evaluate, and then go. So E from ego, and then the last part, go, evaluate, and then go. And of course, id, impulsive decision, and then making, of course. And then super ego, I tell people to visualize superhero. So let's explain and get into this a little bit further. So impulsive decision making, think of the little cartoon. So this would be the devil on the shoulder. The ego, think about that little Diddy cartoon, would be the human head or the person. And then the superego or superhero would be the angel. So id, you're going to think on impulse and do whatever the heck you want. So for example, I have a stack of jelly beans or a thing of jelly beans behind my computer. Impulsive decision making would be like, oh, I'm not doing this little video right here, not doing this study group. How about I just grab all of those jelly beans and start eating them regardless of what's going on around me? Who cares if I'm talking? We'll just have the jelly beans flying everywhere. So that's the impulsive part of it. And it's all pleasure centered. Ego would say, how about you evaluate what you're currently doing and then decide what you're actually doing? And then super ego would be superhero. They're thinking about all of everyone else in the situation and then going from there. So that is where you have to picture the angel and it'll work. So that is where it's a kind of a continuum and it's all based on the mind. Because why? Id, impulsive decision making, starts out as when you're a kid. Ego, you have to start getting that bit about you where you are trying to understand, am I trying to go or not? And then superego is when you start to become altruistic or thinking about everyone else and people that could be affected by it. So you try to help other people rather than satisfy your own pleasure-centered, impulsive decision-making needs. So if a client requests you via social media, can you send them a message saying why you can't accept or discuss next session? Well, from the sounds of it, you have a current client. So there are going to be two different scenarios. If a current client, discuss it with them in person. Why? One, you have access to them, and it helps build the therapeutic relationship, i.e., in vivo or in person exposure to expressing needs. You would explain to them in person, I don't think this is a good idea, as well as my code of ethics says it's unethical to maintain a relationship outside of the therapeutic relationship, and it could cause a dual relationship, boundary issues, etc. I appreciate the gesture and can understand why you'd want to foster and get to know me a little further outside. However, we're a professional relationship here. If a previous or discharged client, you can message them only about why it is unethical to accept the request, or you can ignore the request and allow for the communication channel to remain closed, because at the given day, social media, you may not have seen the request, etc. But it's all about what you want to do within the situation, as long as you're not accepting it or discussing things outside of the business purpose of the therapeutic relationship in general. Does anyone else have any more questions, or do they want to talk about their particular situation, about their exam experience, if their exam's coming up, or if they want to process further about that? So couple starts therapy together and decide to divorce. One gets a lawyer and signs a disclosure. How does a social worker proceed having done with both of them? So without a release, you cannot discuss both parties. You would only be able to respond to the info that involves the one particular client, or get a release signed by the other client. Why? Both of them are the client, not just the one person. And then, whoops. Can you discuss choosing PTSD? Can you discuss choosing PTSD diagnosis when it has only been 3 weeks, as in your video 7 months ago? So I would urge you to look at that video again, because the diagnosis in that video was acute stress disorder. Because acute stress disorder, 30 days or less. Why? Because acute means short, and then PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder is 30 days or longer and requires more symptoms. And I know the exact question you're talking about, and I ruled out PTSD in there and chose acute stress disorder. Any other questions that people have at this given moment? Okay. So primary, secondary, and tertiary. So are you talking about prevention? I'm guessing prevention. I don't mean to. I just want to make sure that I'm talking directly. Okay, good. Okay. So let me just admit. Sorry, I have problems. Let me correct it. Um, so when you're looking at this, and let me copy these other ones too. If not, I may get into it and then lose all of it. And best. Okay. So when you're looking at this primary, so I can understand why they're a little tricky. So when you're looking at this, primary is when this situation has happened and you are trying to prevent it within the person. In 1 second. All right. So when we're looking at this, primary is when the situation has happened to other people and you are trying to prevent it within the person. So this is where we start doing preventative strategies before it even occurs within our person. So we will implement strategies to help it from happening to this particular person. So this could be education, vaccines, early intervention type thing. So if you think about it, primary is the main thing. When you hear the word primary, you think this is what comes first. If this person's primary, this is what we have to do. And in an easy way would be like primary care doctor. So that's where people typically get like their vaccines and stuff. So that is where, and the key thing here, before it occurs, not after, not during, before it occurs for the particular person that we're doing. And again, I'm assuming that it's happened for other people because we wouldn't be able to prevent something if it hasn't happened before. It'd be almost like Chicken Little type deal. We'd be telling people, yeah, you shouldn't do this or you can't do this. So primary is with this. So within this, we'd have to do our job to prevent it, like exposure to hazardous things. And then secondary is when the particular issue has already occurred within the person, well, within the person or to the person. And we are trying to detect and treat the issue. And it's hard to not have like a real example for it, but the main goal is to halt the progression or to mitigate further damage. So this is when it has already happened. So we are assessing, stabilizing, and hopefully curing, depending on what is we're looking at here. So remember, primary, we're trying to prevent it from happening. Secondary, it has already happened to this. So example could be, let's say primary is to get a mammogram. Secondary would be that you've noticed a lump and then we're getting a scan and test done on that lump to see what it is. Is it benign? Is it malignant or infectious? And then tertiary if you think about tertiary, is third. So tertiary meaning come third. So this is when the particular issue, or yeah, we'll just say the particular issue has been identified and impacting the client's functioning, and we are just trying to soften the blow of the issue. So let's keep the mammogram example going. Mammogram primary would be we're scanning to see if it's happening. Secondary would be we detected something and we're testing to see what it is. Tertiary would be that it has happened to someone and we need to help someone monitor, maintain the goal. So main goal is to ease the impact that the issue has on the person's functioning. And this is where we try to help them manage what they're actually able to do. So again, summarize: primary, before it occurs; secondary, a little bit of it has occurred, but we're trying to detect and analyze what it actually is. Tertiary is where we're responding and trying to reduce the blow of what is actually happening. And I don't have a whole lot of medical knowledge, so I used mammogram as that's a reference that came to mind pretty easily. So again, we'll highlight, detect, and treat. And then for tertiary, this is to manage and reduce. So let's get on to other questions. Question 11. I took the ASWB practice exam today, and one of the questions was regarding a pregnant woman actively using marijuana. The answer was refer to treatment center and not report. When would you report? So this is kind of a tricky question and kind of answering in a vacuum. So we would first attempt to help the woman reduce her use and examine the impacts that it has on her functioning. However, without the exact question, we need to gauge her motivation for change, goals, and her insight on the use. So let's say we have somebody that says, Phil, I was recently found out that I was pregnant. I'm using marijuana. I know the negative impacts and I want to help reduce my use. Us sending her to CPS isn't going to be helpful in this woman's situation. Because why? CPS is going to do exactly what we would do and refer her to a treatment center and provide ongoing monitoring, which the substance use service provider would do. So that is where it can be kind of dangerous to speak in such vacuum and such extreme with such little detail. So those are just some things to keep in mind. What is the impact on her functioning? What is her motivation for change and her particular insight on the issue? So that is a thing to keep in mind. So best scenarios to terminate treatment. When someone has progressed to a level of functioning that treatment would no longer benefit them, as well as they are not a risk to themselves, others, or both. Meaning they are not trying to hurt themselves, hurt others, or both. Meaning they're not trying to kill anyone, not trying to kill themselves, and just trying to maintain a level of functioning that is manageable with and for them. Working with children and families. Well, to do with 17-year-old who does not want family involved in treatment when patients think they should be? Hang on. Working with children, what do you do with a 17-year-old who does not want family involved in treatment when parents think they should be? Listen to your client and respect their wishes. In most states, 14 plus, people are able to seek services without parental consent. And again, you'll have to check on your particular state, but there is a particular age that you once upon a time can seek services. And like you said, dependent on state law. So if a client doesn't want someone in their services, then you're not going to include the other people in there. CPS once says client gives birth. Doctor reports CPS once client baby test. Yeah, I'm not really sure. That's not really a question. Any other questions that people have, or if you want to talk about your situation, just type in the chat, can I talk? And I'll unmute you because that just helps mitigate any unnecessary background noise or anything like that. Hi, Phil. Howdy. Oh, do you want to talk about your situation, I guess? So somebody that had passed her exam is now in here. Yay. Like how you passed and your experience of passing. Do you want to talk about it? Like all the struggles, all the processing, and then coming out and passing. And you don't have to if you don't want to. I think it could just be powerful. If you have time, can you talk about community planning? Yes. Okay, yes. All right. So I will intermission. And yeah, let's see. Feel free. You are unmuted.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Phil.
Welcome.
How are you doing?
I
Let me tap in on my friend.
I'm excited. So I guess, do you want me to introduce or do you want to?
Yes, please do.
Okay. So Addie is somebody who found me from YouTube.
Yes, I did.
She was using other sources before. So she had failed one time prior to reaching out to me and then was working with me and was kind of doing Phil-ish, if you will. So like she was using my style, using some other people's style and letting people in her ear. So she failed. And then she was like, I need to actually listen to this guy and get a little bit more insight into what he's talking about and stuff like that.
Yes.
And then almost has a meltdown before taking the exam.
I wouldn't say almost. I would say yes, I definitely did have a meltdown.
So speak a little bit about that process of like transition.
So the first time I took the exam was in November, past November, and I think a week or so before I took the exam, Phil suggested not to travel, and I was planning on traveling, and I was studying with him and studying with other people, and I was having a lot, and he said, don't travel, don't go, and I decided to travel, which I should have not, and I had bad luck. Like, I had a lot of anxiety when I came back. I took the ASWB practice exam and I passed that. But when I took the actual exam now, I failed by about 9 points, I believe, the first time. And I was heartbroken. I was devastated. I was frustrated. And then he told me to pick myself back up, get a break, and let's get back to it. But in the same aspect of me doing that, I was part of the study groups every week. We wasn't doing as much the 101, I believe, at the time, Phil, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you kind of like went away.
Yeah, I went away. I was like just in a little bit. I was still in the background of the study groups every Sunday though, but I just wasn't doing the one-on-one as much as I was doing the first time around. And I took the exam the second time in March with a little bit more confidence, because towards the ending of February, I started to get back with Phil again, started to do the tutoring. We started to have a study regimen. He helped me develop a study regimen in February. And we started getting back, and then I took the exam. The day before I took the exam, which was March 20th, we did a study session the day before, and I was very nervous, but no, I was very calm. Matter of fact, the second time around I took the exam, I was very calm. I was more confident. I felt like I was a little bit more better than I was the second time. I wasn't as stressed, but I was still anxious. The day I took the exam, which was March 20th, the second time, I went there with everything. I did everything that this time around that Phil told me to do. I was very calm. I did everything I was supposed to do. I took a day break the day before, and I didn't pass the second time. And I was angry, and I was frustrated because my job was not making any better, and my job was on the line, like literally on the line, and I didn't know what else to do. And then I finally committed to stop listening to everyone else and just fully listen to Phil. Like, I actually stopped. I stopped listening to everyone else, what everyone else was telling me to do. I stopped listening to everybody else's philosophies and their magics and saying that this worked and that worked. And it probably worked for them, but it didn't work for me. I think Phil telling me to believe in myself was one of the best tools that anyone have ever given me. I don't think that I had anyone tell me to believe in myself as much as Phil did at the time. I learned to have faith in what he taught me. We got back to the one-on-one tutoring. I did the study groups on Sundays, asking questions, took all the key information that he had, because he knows a lot of information, a lot. As much as he don't think he does, he does. I think so. That's my belief. And he's a great support system. Like, when you do not have faith in yourself and you feel like you are ready to give up and be like, you are done with this exam because you spent so much money and so much time and so much energy, and you feel like your spirit is broken, please pick yourself back up. You are not done yet. God and the angels that's around you have other plans for you. Phil is my witness. I felt like giving up so many times. The last time I took the exam, which was May 13th, the week before, I felt like giving up. And Phil was like, no, you are not giving up. He was not going to let me give up. He was not going to let what other people was put in my ear, what they were saying, going to take over. He helped me gain my confidence back in myself. He helped me believe that I can do it. I did not think I was going to do it. I wanted to just be like, all right, this is done. I'm tired. And the day, I want to say like 2 days before, Phil, was it 2 days or a day before? Because we had 2 sessions. We had one that Friday and we had one that Sunday. And both of those sessions Friday session made me like just really pick myself up from the floor, because I really, really felt like I wanted to change my day of my exam. I wanted to throw the whole exam away. I wanted to be like, all right, if I get fired, I get fired. It'll be all right. Like, I was just done. I was over it. And Phil made me write letters to myself to be like, why are you doing this? To get back to my root, to get back to why am I doing this? What am I doing it for? Who am I doing it for? And I had to let go of all the failures I did the first and second time around. I had to let go of all the people that said I wasn't going to do it. I had to let go of the negativity of the job even, and just get back to who I was and get back to believing in myself and get back to my faith. That was one thing. If you have faith, keep your faith close. because your faith will get you through. I promise you that your faith will get you through. What is for you will be for you. When I failed, I felt like my whole world was over. I felt like I wanted to just go hide in a closet and never be seen again. And I thought maybe I should be a social worker. But Phil made me realize that, no, I do know this information. Best believe we know this information. We would not have finished grad school. We did not know this information. We would not even, some of us would not even have a job if we did not know how to be great social workers. We are all good social workers, and we know this. This exam is tricky, don't get me wrong, but take everything that he's teaching you, take everything that you're reading and apply it and believe in yourself, because as of May 13th, I became licensed, baby, a licensed social worker, and no one can ever, when I did not think I was gonna pass, and I clicked that button, and it said pass, I fell to the floor. Literally fell to the floor. I think I had one of the craziest exams I've ever thought I could have. I thought the first one was crazy. This last one was even like just ridiculous. I had nothing but recall scenarios, not even just questions, scenarios. Nothing but recall scenarios. I had no medication questions. And I did not think I knew anything. I was like, I don't know this stuff. What am I doing? But I had to literally, I took what Phil said, take breaks. I read each, and when I mean I read all 170 questions at least 4 times. I read them all 4 times, you know, and I broke the question down. I broke each one down. Like the way that Phil tells you to do it, break it down, read the question. Who are you in the scenario? Who are you? You know, what is your role in the question? You know, and it's very important for you to know that. What's your role? What is the question really asking you? Because they're going to put some other mumbo jumbo nonsense in there. But really look at, what is it asking you? What's your role? Look at the choices. Read the question at least 4 times. It really helps. It really, really, really helps. Everything that Phil tells, that he told me, and I know that he told all you guys, that he has his YouTube videos on, they work. I'm not gonna lie. I even use some of the acronyms really helped me get me through especially when I was doing some of the application questions. I had very little of it. It helped me to break it down, like literally. The Piagets, how you broke it down when you did Erickson's and Piaget and Freud. Like I don't know why it came in the middle of the exam. It literally came to my mind. I had to stop in the middle of the exam to write it all down on the whiteboard. I was like, I can't do nothing. I can't do nothing. I had to write it all down. I wrote all the stages, and I couldn't believe that I could remember it in the middle of my stressful crisis. I remembered it, and I wrote everything down, and I took my time to write it down, and I went back to those questions and looked at what I wrote, and I was like, Phil would be proud of me right now. What will Phil do? Phil would be very proud that I wrote this down, and I pat myself in the back, was like, I got this. If I didn't get nothing else, I'm like, I knew I got this one. And be proud of yourself. You know, you guys are all troopers. We are troopers in this. You will get there. You will be at the end of the finish line. You will be so proud of yourself. It will be an amazing feeling. It will be weight lifted off your chest. Phil thought that he could get rid of me. I'm not going nowhere. I'm gonna stay here as long as I can. And he's amazing, guys. Like, so take everything that he says, the free study groups, the study groups that he does do on Sundays. If you need him, he's one of the best individuals that I am grateful to God that he has put in my corner. I don't think I would have made it to where I am if I didn't have him. Like, for somebody that I've came from the struggles of life, I've been through a lot in my life, and it's made me stronger, and I appreciate him for everything that he has done for me and for everyone else. I think that he's one of the best human beings in the world, and I have to say thank you, Phil, because of you now, I'm like, I can tell my job, like, if they piss me off, to shove it. Like, that's all. Now they can't fire me. I could quit if I want to now and be peaceful with it. But you guys, if you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask him. He will definitely answer you, but be patient. Be gentle with him because he is gentle. He's my friend. Okay.
So I'm grateful. And that's something I've been wanting to do for a little while, is have someone like share out about their experience so you guys know that it's like real. But of course, and I always say this, if you want to process about what you're going through, feel free to share. And a little thing that she didn't add in there, I don't think she'll mind me adding as well, is like through that trials and tribulations, like an anniversary that was important to her, like happened. Like she lost her dad last year at this time and had that going into the actual exam. Imagine that type of pressure that you experience, having all of those emotions going through and pumping through your mind. And a lot of people say, like, what do I do with all of this pressure? Eliminate as much self-induced pressure as you possibly can, and know that as long as you are doing what you know and trust yourself to fulfill what you think, you're going to get there. A lot of times, a lot of the pressure and a lot of anxiety you're experiencing is because of stuff that you put on you. You think, well, what are my parents going to think? What are my kids going to think? What is my significant other going to think? But at the end of the day, they're going to think just as highly of you, if not more highly, as before you went into the exam, during the exam, and even after the exam, and be looking to support you through that entire process. That's why it's so powerful to trust and believe in yourself, because 3 days before the exam, she was going to reschedule and block a blessing that she once had already in place for that. You know what I mean? It's amazing what the mind can do when we believe in it, but it's also crazy what the mind can do when we don't believe in how much fake scenarios we can pop into that. But yeah, like I said, I could talk about this all day, but if you particularly have like struggles you're experiencing and stuff like that, feel free. That's what I really enjoy doing, is like helping people process. And that's why I'm here for you guys, with you guys. But for now, I will just answer the questions that were provided. And if you have questions, type them in. If you want to talk, just say, please let me talk. And then we'll go from there. But let's get in. How to deal with a client with active suicide but refuses hospitalization and changes intent to be low risk. Well, continue to monitor and, continue to monitor and assess the client's risk. And of course, means, intent, and plan are the keys. And most people that had super duper suicidal ideations or intentions of hurting someone else, it's not going to just immediately go down over time, maybe in the interim to get out of the situation, but it's going to be there as well. However, involuntary hospitalization is an option as well, but unless you can transport them to the hospital and you're in your agency and stuff like that, can't really do a whole lot. If you have time, can you talk about community planning? So with community planning, it can be complex. My biggest suggestion is to view the community as you would an individual client, because at the end of the day, we understand the community, assess needs, organize change, develop collaborative plan, execute, and evaluate, which is all what you do with a client anyhow. So that is how you'd view the community. Anyone else have any other questions or input or things that you want clarification on? How much say does client have in termination? So 16. Well, depends. Just like any question. However, typically 50 to 100%. So if the client believes that they have completed their goals, then, well, then we can discharge. Well, or client can drop out at any time, or therapist believes client is ready for discharge and client does not. In that situation, we would need to assess why the client does not feel like they need discharge. Have a young adult. What is the best approach? Let's see. Whoops. We'll have young adult schizoaffective assaulted grandmother denies any further assault, and grandmother and grandson do not want to have session together. What is the best approach? Ensure safety, stabilize and respect the client's right to self-determination. And in this situation, grandmother is a client and grandson is a client. Grandmother does not feel safe. The session does not happen. Plain and simple. We don't force people into services, especially in a situation where you've been assaulted before. 18. Are you doing a session on developmental theories and stages? Can you break that down at all? So I will be doing a study group on human developmental theories on July 7th. So there I'll get a little further into it, but I guess choose a particular concept or topic in regards to that, and then we can do that. Any other questions that people have? All right, so difference between schizoaffective versus mood disorder with psychotic features. Well, this is the tricky intricacies. So, schizoaffective is depression, mood disorder, and schizophrenia mixed together. And mood disorder. So let's just say bipolar disorder. Let's say bipolar 1 disorder with psychotic features. Just to be like semantical, because mood disorder is pretty vague. So this one is going to be mania or hypomania, depression, or, well, let's say bipolar 1 does, well, depression, or not, because bipolar 2 is the only one that requires depression or a major depressive disorder episode. So the main difference here is the amount of mania and or hypomania, as well as the presence of psychotic episodes. Like, how often are they happening? What's causing them? Is it drug induced? Is it not drug induced? Or is it actually a mental health type onset or symptomology here? So that's how you would view the difference of those, but they are super duper similar, and it's based on the clinician and what they're trying to do without like introducing criteria. So I have a question. Can you review court order and right to privacy as well as duty to warn? It's a lot of huge topics, but court order is a subpoena from a judge, and we attempt to either advocate for the records to be kept confidential, or we disclose the least amount of information. We consult with the client regarding this, as well as our supervisor. So right to privacy, clients can have their records kept confidential, and they only lose this right when they try to harm someone, harm themselves, and or both. And the main thing here is we only disclose the least amount of information to assist in the situation, or client must give consent or sign a release information for any other disclosures. So, difference between borderline and bipolar 1. So, borderline personality disorder, the main thing is going to be what they're actually fixated on. So, or kind of a mixture. So, borderline, or they both can have kind of both in the scheme of it. So, borderline person is fixated on relationships and will do anything to maintain or obtain them. They will spend great deals of money, self-harm, to manipulate, are impulsive, and will have episodes of mood fluctuation rather quickly. Bipolar 1 disorder, on the other hand, is mania, hypomania, with depression, but does not 100% need to happen, as again, bipolar 2 is the only bipolar that requires an episode of MDD, as well as bipolar 1 must have a negative impact on the person's functioning. And that's not to say that borderline isn't either, but that's also a caveat and difference between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. Difference between fictitious and lingering. So, dang, you guys are really on the DSM today or right now. So fictitious disorder, whoops, and malingering disorder. So key thing is going to be in the initial. Person is faking a disorder to obtain some type of monetary incentive, and then fictitious person is faking a disorder for the sake of attention and can actually manifest the symptoms. Any other questions that people have? Or does someone want to like talk about their situation, or what is on people's minds? Can I compare bipolar 2 disorder? How would you like me to compare it, and what would you like me to compare it to? Can you also compare bipolar? Okay, so bipolar 1 disorder. And, well, let me compare it, like put the question down. Whoops. So that'd be 23. Can you also compare bipolar 2 to bipolar 1 disorder? So bipolar 1 disorder. So presence of mania or hypomania. And main difference here is going to be length of time. So 7 days or longer. And hypomania is touch shorter, 3 days or longer. And this does not require an episode of MDD or major depressive disorder. Has a clinically significant impact on the person's functioning. And then bipolar 2, presence of hypomania, which is 3 days or longer. So requires, well, I guess, or mania, but a little less believable. We'll just stick with hypomania, 3 days longer, and then requires an episode of a major depressive disorder or MDD, and this does not require a clinically significant impact on a person's functioning. And then easy way to remember is, well, easy ways to remember. Mania, longer duration. So, which is 7 days or more. And since it comes first, it does not require all of the things. Well, since it comes first, it requires more to be diagnosed. So if you think of birth, age, and child order, first child tends to have a lot more expectations and stuff on them. So hospitalizations, legal, etc. Why? Because it has to have a clinically significant impact on someone's functioning. And then hypomania, shorter duration. Again, 3 days or longer. And 2 comes before 3, which is how long it takes for it to be clinically diagnosed, as well as this does not require an impact on someone's functioning. All right, so enough with that, because the biggest thing is it does not require the clinically significant impact, and this one has a clinically significant impact. And then the symptomology for hypomania and mania are the same. It's just the degree of impact it has on somebody, as well as how long it takes for that to settle in. How to help people with complex trauma live in a city where there is an active violence history of family murders, which reinforces danger of current living conditions. Main concern is how to support resilience and inspire hope when client is unable to engage in such discussions. Okay. I'm guessing this is actually like a clinical situation that you're exhibiting. So how to help someone with complex trauma? Well, a thing to keep in mind is build a rapport, always. Inquire what the client would like to work on, not what you think they need to work on. Explore motivation for change, previous attempts, and current functioning. Explore their situation and their view of what is happening. Like you said, if it's been happening for a long period of time, maybe normalized, and they may not understand, but through like talking it out, they may see like some significant disconnects of what they want for themselves, or maybe they do want to join in these activities as well. And that is where you can't really prevent a client from doing something such as this. And with this, take it at the client's pace. And again, not at what you think the pace is or where you want them to be. So again, a lot of times, a lot of disconnect in practice is that we think that a client should be further than they actually are, or we're uncomfortable with the situation and we feel like they should be further out. Any other questions, concerns, things that you want to process? Anyone have their exam coming up and want to talk about that? Because that's kind of what I was like hoping if someone had that, so that way we could have that direct interaction of, we've had someone that's overcome the exam. How about we get somebody that is currently struggling with either staying focused, staying motivated, or the exam is close and they want to get that going as well. All right, so we'll start with Barb. All right. So what is going on in your situation, Barb?
I've been studying since the end of April and overwhelmed. Like stages of development, I studied in undergrad, so not up to speed, and then really understanding how to deconstruct the questions.
Okay, so 1 second. Okay, so your mic is kind of echoey, but I can get pieces of it. So from the sounds of it, you're overwhelmed and aren't sure what to do in the situation with all of the stuff that is possibly able to be studied from, and you're not really sure where to go with content and how and where to start. Well, with these different considerations, first you need to understand what you know and what you do not, and with things that you do not know, what impact will it have on your exam? And again, we don't know, but if it's something wild like hay fever or something that no one really is studying or anyone else is saying, it's probably not a huge impact. Someone's talking about defense mechanisms or something like that. That's a commonality that is very like a buzzy and is like a common thing that we see with that. And know that you will not know everything. It's impossible. But a lot of times we put a lot of pressure on ourselves and say, I need to know this. I need to know this other thing. I can't be imperfect. I need to know everything possible under the sun about social work. And then you almost create this into a PhD. So do not overwork yourself. And it's easy to do because there's so many topics and different possibilities. And so how is this done? Develop a plan that works for you and stick with it. And if you find yourself losing motivation, reevaluate your plan. Because if you're feeling like you're not able to stick with it, you're not able to get this done, you may be overdoing it, or it's just a more loftier goal than you thought you could possibly do. So you want to stay away from doing that, as well as trust yourself and focus on what you feel is important, as this journey is all about personalization. Well, all about self and what will make you the best version of yourself. So that is the best things that I could say about that particular situation. So let's see what is going on in JN's situation. Are you there?
How do I fix it?
How is it going?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes. How's it going?
Okay, so I got approved to take the exam. I haven't registered for the exam yet. I would like to take it in July,
Okay.
but I don't have a study plan. I don't want to overstudy, and I don't want to understudy. And I wanted to know, like, other than taking the assessment test by the ASWB, whatever it's called, how can I find out exactly where to put all my effort into studying and then make a plan? Like, I don't want to just study things just for the sake of saying I studied everything, because I'm already feeling overwhelmed.
Okay. So first off, thank you for being willing to share your situation. Second, breathe. Breathe. Because this situation is nerve-wracking. But a lot of times we like to amp it up to something that is actually not. Meaning no one can tell you exactly what is going to be on your particular exam, which creates a lot of anxiety. Because all the tests up to this point in your life and situation, you've been told what was going to be on it, and you just had to study X amount of content, and then it'd be good.
Right.
So kind of accepting that little bit of uncertainty is kind of helpful.
That's terrible.
The second one is more or less like, what do you already currently know, and what don't you know?
That's a good question, right? How do I figure out that I already know these things?
Yes.
Well, I've been listening to the Code of Ethics. They have a little like an audio recording of the Code of Ethics, so I feel like I have a good handle on it. Not that I could memorize it word for word, but I feel like I have a good handle on like understanding like a choice that I had to make if I had to apply this.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I mean the models, not all the models, but like CBT, DBT, maybe that's about it. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't even know where to tell you what I feel like I know. That was one of the questions. Like, is there a way to do an assessment other than paying for the mock exam to find out what I know? Because I feel like I want to use that closer to the test day.
So there's no way to actually gauge it. There's programs out there that's a comprehensive examination of all of the stuff, but there's no one particular thing that gauges, quote unquote, if you're ready. There are a lot of things, and even the practice exam that you keep saying the ASWB has,
Yeah.
that is not really to see if you're ready. That's to see if what you know and the techniques you have would pass that particular exam. But even that one could not even be anywhere similar to what you actually take. It's the closest thing you can get, but the certainty that you're reaching for doesn't exist. And it's not what you know. It's can you apply and assess and dissect scenarios and apply that knowledge applicably. So I've been having a lot of discussions with people in individual sessions of, you may know the content and would be able to tell me word for word what to do, but the exam wants you to be able to peel back the layers and say, what would you do first? Or this is already done. What should you do next? What's the best thing to do in this situation regarding this? So knowing that it's not about the content, it's how you utilize the content that is important.
Okay, how do I utilize it? How do I utilize the content?
Practice.
Practice.
So that is where you want to practice, and practice. And that doesn't mean grab onto anything that you can do. That means find things that have been helpful and focus on the technique, not what the questions are actually telling you. Meaning, you may answer a question about using CBT in this one particular situation. Yes, it's important to know that you should use it, but what in the question is telling you that you need to know it? And that's the piece of information that you need to hold on to, not that I utilize it in this particular situation and then compare it to other questions, because that's bad moves. Because every question is created equally, as in the fact of technique, but not every question is created equally in rigor or content relation.
So it's like practicing a method, like different methods to see the question.
Yes.
You have videos on that? You do like...
That's what I'm known for.
Okay, good. Okay, I'll tell you on Facebook.
But yeah, that's yeah, if you go to my YouTube channel, there are probably a good like 20 plus videos of questions, and then 10 or so just tips like this, that because this will be a video eventually.
Okay.
By eventually, probably a couple of days. I have to upload it and edit it and stuff like that. But yeah, so this will be up here and he'll actually be on a video. So that's kind of cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's what I would suggest, is just build a base and figure out what you know and what you don't know.
Do you think that I have enough time between now and mid-July, or do I need more studying time?
So that is a question that you would have to ask yourself.
Oh, crap.
Because that's where, again, this process isn't a matter of I can tell you what you need because I don't know you. I don't know your style. I'm not following you around. So this is something you have to sit down with yourself and say, is this enough time for me? And if so, what will it look like? If not, why not? And is it anxiety telling me it's not enough time? Or is it actual logistical sound basis of why don't feel like I have enough time?
I think a little bit is anxiety. Like I think like I perform well on a test, but a little bit is anxiety of, well, you didn't give yourself enough time. So doubting whether or not this is really enough time. Sounds like a circle, but like I think I could pass if I felt confident enough that I had like 3 months of it. Whether
Okay.
3 months is really enough, I don't know, but I just think that I would feel guilty if I failed because I only gave myself like 6 weeks.
Well, then give yourself 3 months.
Okay.
That sounds good. That's what's comfortable for you, and that's where you should start.
Okay. Okay. I haven't scheduled yet. I just got approved.
Okay. So I would sit down and say, this is what I'm comfortable with. Is this something I truly am comfortable with? And go from there. You know what I mean? Like, because I can't make a prep for you. It's based on what you feel and what you need and where you need to go with it. So it's a lot of trusting trial and tribulations of, this didn't work, this works, this doesn't work. Okay, so how do I rectify it and go? Because you never know if you can pass the exam unless you try. You can sit and think and ponder and explore, but if you never get into it and do it, you won't ever do it. Because there's nothing to it but to do it.
I wish I didn't have to do it. Yeah.
But
Oh, thank you.
and if you need help along the way, just send me an email and we can go from there. Erica, are you with us? All right, I had to find it. Bango. Ah. Okay, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello. Welcome.
Hi. So my exam is June 11th, and that's 10 days out. This will be my second attempt. So I'm just strategizing for the next 10 days or 9 days, because I'm going to take the day off before, to really think about the plan, because I work a full-time job, and thinking about what the next 8 to 9 days are going to look like. So yeah, I guess I'm just reflecting on our individual session from earlier, and then really thinking about the plan of action for the next 10 days. So I don't know.
So based on what you are comfortable with,
Yeah.
what does that look like for you? Knowing what you've done before up to this point, what feels comfortable for the next 9 days? And you don't have to map it out verbatim, but like, what would that look like for you to not, I guess, burn out? Because that's a huge thing.
So what I've been doing is like, I max out at 2 hours, because like 90 minutes or more is like a lot. So 2 hours is like my max study every day, like before bed or after work. And that's been really helpful, like 90-minute increments, or just sort of like right before bed. And it seemed to like retain the information pretty well. I don't know. I really listened to what Addie had to say, and that was really was a really good resource for me to hear. And I feel a little bit more prepared than I did 6 months ago. That's for sure.
Good.
So I'm nervous. I'm anxious. I'm frustrated. A lot is lying on this attempt specifically. So just trying to do things differently, and you've been so helpful. So I don't really have a question. It's just really strategizing a plan for the next 9 days.
Yeah. So walk me through this. What is creating the anxiety, or what is that fear, if you will?
Well, of course, fear of failure. But I'm just seeing this as like an opportunity of redemption. And I always feel like I have to prove something, like either to an employer, to a family, to myself. And so that cyclical message is always there. So calming myself down, having a plan, and just taking it day by day. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, just taking ownership of the exam and myself and my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I've had the privilege of being able to work with you on an individual basis, and you are really difficult on yourself. And take this from somebody that's probably kicking his own butt 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that as long as you show up, it's better than someone that hasn't shown up. And
Yeah.
falling back on, I'm good enough because I'm here and I've done the best that I think I can do to this point, and that's enough.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I have like my study stuff all around me, like every day. What I think I'm going to do the next 9 days is just sort of like, I have like these really large, like sticky things, like sticky note thing, like oversized Post-it notes, and just sort of like map out everything so I can have like a direct image of all of the information. And I realized it's really not about content, it's about strategy. And I had memorized a lot of content, attempt 1, and I realized I had no clue about strategy. And then I found you, and the strategy and the content are like coming together, which I'm hoping is going to be my best source of ammo for the exam.
Good. And you have everything you need. And I'm glad that you didn't say that you were going to seek something else out. You don't need to do that. It's not an inadequacy thing. It's we have to sharpen your knife.
Yeah.
With everything that you have. Like, and trust me, it's a crippling feeling, but you will never feel 100% ready and anticipate. And I've said this, and I've stayed behind this statement. And when I said it the first time, I was kind of like, what am I saying? Prepare to fail, though. Prepare to fail.
Yep.
And when you prepare to fail, it takes the power away from if this happens then. Meaning just sitting down in that and saying, if I truly fail, have I done quality enough for me to be able to say I gave my best? And that is where the story you connected with was Addie. And that is what happened 3 days before. Was like, I can't do this. I don't know anything. I don't think it's I was like, okay, how do you not know anything? Did you get in a car crash and have a TBI now? It's like you have a lot of pressure from people outside of you, and if they're not encouraging you and building you up, cut them out.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that you don't love them. That doesn't mean that you don't care for them. That means that you care about yourself enough to prioritize yourself for, even if it's for the next 9 days, and then you let them kick your butt for the next rest of X amount of time. But for these next 9 days, you almost have to turn into antisocial personality disorder of I have empathy for no one but myself. And I'm going to kill it because I'm a narcissist, and I'm going to roll up in there and know those two diagnoses very, very well because I love me enough to do what I feel is necessary. And those that care about me will stand behind me regardless.
Yeah. So, 2 times 8, 16 more hours or so of studying. I don't know if that's enough. I thought about changing my exam date. I'm just going to go for it. and lock down that date, and I'm just going to do it.
Good.
Because if I keep changing it, I'm going to keep changing it. And if I can't do that to myself, it's going to be a slow death for me if I keep doing that. So I'm just going to just do it and push through and give it my best.
Good.
Yeah.
And what would you tell somebody that you care about that was in your situation? What advice would you give?
Just do your best. I mean, it sounds so cliche, but truly, like, put your mind, body, and spirit into it and just give it your all, because that's really what has to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you can do something for yourself, tell yourself at least 3 times a day that same phrase.
Mm-hmm.
You wake up, say it. Lunchtime, say it. Before you go to bed, say that.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I'm a butt-kicking machine all the time. But this whole process came from me just pushing past me kicking my own butt.
Yeah.
Because we're our heaviest critics, but we can do that because we're actually doing what we feel that we can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're powerful.
Yeah. Can you submit a question? I don't know if that's for you or for me.
I think it was for you.
Okay.
They wanted to know the positive phrase that you would tell somebody that you care about.
Oh, I just showing up like mind, body, and spirit. Just taking all those 3 things with you and showing up the best you can. Yeah. Thanks, Phil. Always listening and giving some wisdom. It's so useful.
It's honestly my pleasure. So not to leave you like empty-handed of what should I do the next 9 days.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting something I normally don't do. And that's direct advice, but it's concrete. So I would sit down and reflect, what do I know really, really well?
Mm-hmm.
What don't I know so well?
Okay.
And how about I dedicate 90 minutes to those things that I don't know? In the last 2 days, dedicate the time to things that I know. So that way I'm sharp all the way around.
Ooh, okay. That's good.
And that gives you 7 days
Mm-hmm.
of things that you quote unquote don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know them. But it'll ease your anxiety of like, I did the absolute best analysis of myself, and these were these 7 things or X amount of things that I don't know.
Yeah.
And the next 2, you're like, I know these really well. Let me build that confidence up and sharpen it one last time. And I know you're a very structured person
Mm-hmm.
from our little interactions. Develop a plan of the day of.
Day of exam. Okay.
Yes. So,
Okay.
and it sounds weird, like why, but what time do you plan to get there?
Mm-hmm.
And then subtract 15 minutes. So that way you don't have the anxiety of, am I going to get there on time? Get there early. Anticipate to get anxious walking in there.
Oh, yeah.
Anticipate it. Because most people are just like, man, I'm going to walk in there and not anticipate being anxious at all. And it's like, how practical is that? Because when it happens, you're going to be like, oh my God, it's all out the window. It's like, nope, I'll anticipate getting anxious and be like, I anticipated this. This is normal. This is part of the process. And then, no, you're going to get your prison admission, as I call it, palm prints, picture, and all that thing. But anticipate it. Get excited. Say, like, this is one check mark off to me getting licensed. And then
Yeah.
when you walk in there, develop the plan. What are you going to do? Like, sit down, or are you going to write? Well, you have to hit start. Are you going to write anything on the whiteboard? If so, what do you expect to see there? And then each question, you may have to reset your mind of, what does this look like for me?
Mm-hmm.
How will I reset my mind? Do I need a break? Don't I need a break? And anticipate all of these things and let go of the things you don't have control of. If the person at the front desk is a jerk to you, let go of that and say, they're just angry that I'm going to be licensed today. And I won't ever have to see them again.
I'm convinced they have so many barriers in place to make you more anxious. I just feel like it's part of the process. sitting in the
Trust me.
chair and getting fingerprints and, you know, inspection of your clothing and you know, everything. Just like it's put in place for a reason, just to make you more anxious.
I just always view that they're trying to cover themselves,
Yeah, of course.
and I anticipate it of, you're going to check me if I'm cheating. I'm not. Let me make this process easier for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in better spirits when I get in there.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, that was the, so sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just the first time I really just didn't have a plan of strategy. I was working through a different like study program, and it really wasn't as comforting as yours. So this time I'm gonna like take a break and just, like I said in the individual session, just do everything different. Take a break, relax, and be excited. And forget everybody else for the next couple days, because I'm like, my work and my day life, my personal life is all giving, and I'm just like, forget everybody. Like I can't right now. So just give me my space to study and get in that space and take this for my take, you know, and have the exam for my taking, pretty much.
Good. You need to fill up your gas tank for the drive ahead.
Yes. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you for sharing, honestly. This is why I do these, because these are the conversation no one likes to have, but everyone wants to have them. They just don't have people that are there supporting them. They have someone trying to take something from them. So be wary of that. But thank you. Let's see. So, I don't see Michael in here anymore. Okay. So, skip to Amy. So,
My turn.
how is it going?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's going. I take my test this Thursday. I'm a little anxious. Some days I feel like I know what I'm doing. Other days I feel like I've never seen this stuff. So I'm kind of like in that mode right now. Your videos definitely help me feel better breaking down the questions, and I've been doing those every day. So yeah, I really just, this is going to be my second attempt on Thursday. My first one I took in October, this past October, and I missed it by 5 points. So that was a bitter pill to swallow. But I'm just trying to stay positive and stay focused and tell myself it's going to happen and do it.
Okay. So walk me through this. 8 months is a long prep.
Yeah, well, I also rescheduled it because I got anxious. So Erica, don't do it. It's not worth it because you're just going to increase your anxiety. And yeah, I think that was just nerves, but I'm not doing that again at all.
Okay. So what does the last 8 months look like? Paint this picture for me, because that's a long bit of time.
Right. So I was working during that time too. So I wasn't dedicating as much time as I wanted to in theory to studying for this. So I would say like pretty aggressively, I would say it had been studying the last 2 months.
Okay.
And then I did my job last week, and I left for another job. So I'm not starting my job till Monday the 10th because I wanted these 2 weeks to myself and to commit to studying for this test.
Awesome. So that makes a lot more sense. Sorry. I just had to wrap my head around 8 months. I was like, but so 2 months you've been studying heavy, and then you did a boss move and was like, I'm out of here, and I'm going to give myself a 2-week break that no one even is accounting for. And then I'm going to walk in license.
In my head, I was like, you're going to start this new job June 10th. Go in there and shock them and tell them you have an LCSW now, and that, you know, and then like see if they'll pay you more too. So I was like, I want to like go in there with that element of surprise for them too, but also, you know, more for myself that I tackled this hurdle.
Okay. So that's a risky technique.
Okay.
And I think that might be where some undue pressure is coming.
Okay.
So I think it would be really cool if you walked in there with the license,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's creating a lot of pressure that you may not otherwise know.
Okay.
Because when we expect something to happen, it intends to like rile us up further because that's outside of our control if it can happen or not.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And thank you for finally like sharing, because we've been interacting for quite some time actually.
I know.
And I'm just busy, so I wasn't able to respond to like a lot of
I,
the prompts and stuff. But
I know you're a busy guy.
with that though, you have a couple days left. What does that look like for you?
I really just think continuing to watch the videos, just doing practice questions, and it's really just like repetition, not like not what we were taught in school, but like how does the test want you to answer the question? So what is your strategy? What are they looking for? Is that just a distraction answer, or is that really what they want you, the correct one? So I think it's just like learning strategies, like remembering like what is the keyword there, just like if it says always, that's probably not a right answer. So just trying to keep those strategies in mind.
So what are you most afraid of?
Not passing again.
Hmm.
A lot of my friends who have taken this passed on the first try, so it makes it more competitive, which it shouldn't, but like I mean they're in other states and we don't work together, but I want to say, yeah, I passed it and I'm an LCSW too. Like, so I just, not even about the money, but like, I want to tackle this hurdle and put this behind me and like, feel like I can more like enjoy my life more. And I'm like a crazy person who feels like when I failed it the first time, like my boyfriend did this whole like elaborate thing because obviously we were planning on me passing, and then he like planned this whole like nice day for us, and I was like, I don't want this, I don't deserve it, I didn't pass. He's like you do deserve it, you worked really hard. Yeah, you didn't get the right result, but you worked really hard and you need to reward yourself for your efforts. So I sucked it up and I enjoyed it, but like I don't know. So I feel like I don't deserve to like have fun or like do things until I tackle this too, which is really just all in my head.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But I can resonate with you. I really can.
So, because I'm like going to dinner in a little bit and I was like, should you be home studying? Like you have a test coming up. But then I also tell myself like after a certain time, like Erica said, like you're not going to retain anything. So it's best just to take a break and go back to it a little later.
Where's this sense of asceticism coming from?
I don't know. What do you mean?
Well, that's a defense mechanism from Freud for like fun fact, but asceticism is where you delay pleasure until you achieve something. Like, where is this coming from?
I don't know where it's coming from, but that's just kind of where I've been at.
Because that's a lot of pressure, and
yeah.
I can understand. And from the sounds of it, it's just you want to be on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
But I would push you to embrace the time that you have while on this side. Because it's what you gain on this side that makes that other side maintainable.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, trust me, it's shitty not being on the other side.
Right.
Especially friends that have passed first time, you're like, what the heck? I failed.
Like, it's not that bad. Like, you have plenty of time. And I was like, but you also don't know that I failed it the first time by 5 points, which wasn't like, 30 points or 20 points. Like I was right there. So I keep telling myself like 5 points, more than you realize, more than you're giving yourself credit for. You're not a total idiot, but like, but just, I want to go in there this time and like know that my efforts have paid off and I worked really hard and I accomplished the goal I set forth.
So how do we get you to the best version of yourself in the next little bit of time?
I don't know. What do you got? What's your advice? Any of you?
So my biggest advice to you at this time.
Okay.
Let go.
Let go.
You are trying to control things outside of your hands, which is creating a lot of resistance in your mind. and it's hurting you.
Okay.
Because in our little bit of interaction, I have counted 3 things or 3 expectations you have for yourself. First one, you want to walk in and show the job that you're competent because you're an LCSW now.
Mm-hmm.
Second one, you want to prove to your friends that you're competent and are able to fit in with them because you're licensed now.
Right.
And the third one, you want to be able to prove that you are worthy to yourself.
True.
All of those things are outside of your hands. Because let me walk you through it a little bit further.
Mhm.
Sometimes I talk vague, so let me get more specific. So
Okay.
let's say you pass this exam, show your job to LCSW, they don't offer to pay you more and still view you the same way.
Right. No, I never, and that's a very possibility, but like, I would feel better knowing, be like, okay, maybe you're not going to get paid more, which is fine, but like, at least you tackled this hurdle you've been trying to tackle for the last, year roughly studying.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting there.
No.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
The second one, let's say you pass it and your friends don't view you the same and they expected you to pass already. And they're like, that's just what we do.
Uh-huh.
2 of those situations outside of your control. The third one, we can tackle because that's in your control. Because whether you feel worthy or not is entirely up to your doing and your perspective and control. So that is where we have to get your head around letting go all of the external, all of this external gratification, all of this external approval, all of this external pressure, because the external is not what we need to focus on, because the internal, aka yourself, is the only thing that can impact this. Like even the party that, or the dinner, if you will, that you had planned for you after you were going to pass,
Mm-hmm.
it still happened and you didn't feel like you deserved to sit there when
Right.
the people that invited you there wanted you there and said otherwise. So that is where the waves of I feel I can do this and then waves of I can't do this are coming from, because at the end of the day, you have to let go of your past attempt, your past failure, your past actions, and know that your current actions are the only thing that matter. And that if you keep beating yourself down, we can't build you up. We meaning you, but you've included me, and so I'll say we.
Of course, you're always included, Phil.
But that's the thing, is like, trust me, I live in that same extreme of like, I can't do this until then. I can't do this until then. But how many times are you going to tell yourself, once I do this, I'll stop, or once I get this, I'll do? It doesn't stop unless you stop it. Because my little journey was, all right, Phil, I'll get out of school, I'll pay off my student loans, and then I'll cut back. Student loans are gone, and I'm still working harder than I've ever done. And people are like, man, you're doing a really good job. And I'm like, but I'm not there yet. And we'll cite another goal, and we'll cite another goal, and we'll cite another goal. And it's like, at what point in time are you going to be completed? Or the people that you're doing this for are no longer going to be around to embrace it like you think they will be able to.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that we're trying to do it for are already telling us that we're there.
Yeah.
So
I
for
mean,
go
I
ahead.
think, no, I was gonna say, I think like I do have friends who are supportive and who are, who are there, who are encouraging, but like, I agree with you. Like I put a lot of pressure on myself. And I think maybe now today I put more pressure because I had that past attempt that didn't go in my favor, which like you said, I need to let go of. The past is the past and I'm not going to change it. Like now is what matters in the present.
So let me have you do something. Tonight,
Mm-hmm.
sit down and write a letter to yourself before the first exam.
Okay.
and then write another letter to your future self after the exam. So the first one, reflect on the progress that you've made in the last 8 months, and then write a letter to what you think the license will actually get you,
Mm-hmm.
and see where that's at. And I'm curious to see how it goes. So I'm going to let you in the study group tomorrow.
Okay.
So send me an email.
Okay.
But with the caveat that you have to do that.
I will.
And we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Deal.
Awesome. But that's the thing is like, and then once that happens, then I can help you further. But until you unlock yourself from the chains that you're in, no one can help you.
Okay. Makes sense.
Awesome. And yeah, I'm excited to see what transpires from it. And if you need anything in the meantime, just let me know. But yeah,
Awesome.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing again. Yeah. All right. And LHK. Whoops. Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. How is it going?
It's good. I actually think I feel better already just because a lot of what people were saying was similar to kind of my situation, except for it's the first time I've taken it, the exam, and I don't know how to know when I'm ready, but I guess I'll never know if I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
And I have thought about pushing it back, but I don't know. I guess I'm hesitant to do that because I feel like I'm not going to feel more confident in 3 months or 6 months. I mean, I don't know that I would, I guess. Because I guess my biggest thing is like when I study, I feel like I know the content. Like I feel pretty confident about it. And then I try to like answer the questions and I don't know like if I'm just not reading them right. Like I get really caught up in like the acronyms and like what I need to be doing, and then everybody's saying like study for 30 days and do this and do that, and I'm like trying to do all of it and I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for being willing to share first. When is your exam?
June 24th.
So 23 days.
Yeah.
So what would you feel most comfortable with?
I think like my plan is to keep focusing on like practice questions and like just learning how to apply like the techniques and just like the reading exam part of it, because like content wise I feel pretty confident, and like recall questions I do pretty well on. It's
Okay.
just like those application questions that get me.
Okay. So my biggest suggestion, and you've probably heard me say this prior, is don't focus on what they say.
Yes.
And it's easy to, because if someone's done something that you want to do, you're going to have that ear open to it. But not everyone's race is going to be what you need to run. So with that, it's not what they say. And if you're going to listen to who they are, make sure it actually lines up with what you are comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because those that have been rocking with me for a long time know I only studied for 2 weeks and then took the exam. I've worked with people that have studied a year and they still failed. Or I've helped people and they studied for a year and passed. So reflecting on what you need and knowing what you can benefit from, like you said, practice questions. And if it doesn't pertain to practice questions, I wouldn't do it for the next 23 days. I
Okay.
really would, because that's what you feel you need to do. So do it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because you're going to have people saying, man, you didn't know what this is or what that is or what this is. And it's like, I'm going to focus on my lane and do what I feel is necessary, because your advice is warranted and I'm glad you're sharing it with me. But this is my exam I'm taking.
That makes sense. I guess, and I don't know, like, what you tell people, like you were talking about, the girl that was talking at the beginning had, like, personal stuff going on also, and then you said, like, you got to try to, like, block that stuff out as much as possible, and, like, I have a lot of, like, stress also right now, which makes me think, like, maybe it's not the best time to take it. But also, like, there's always a lot of stress, so I don't know what to do with all of that.
How are you handling the stress?
I feel like I do okay.
Well, I mean, the actual strategies.
Oh, I have a really good support system. So, like, I have, like, dinner on Friday nights, and I make sure I, like, take a bath, like, during the weekend at least once. I mean, just things like that, like relaxation strategies and stuff. It's not really, I'm pregnant. So, I mean, it's not something that is like, I can be like, oh, okay, like, this is going to go away, you know, like, it's just something that's, like, ongoingly stressful.
When are you going to have your child?
October.
I was going to say, if you're going to have them. I shouldn't assume. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, you're fine. Yes, I am. October.
Well.
And I have a 6-year-old now. So, like, in my head, I've created this thing where it's like, I have to pass, because if I don't pass, then it's just going to be harder once there's a baby. And I guess it's just, like, built up this kind of, like, what Amy was saying, or there's, like, this cycle of, like, I have to do this. I have to do this right now.
Reflect.
Okay.
Because if you don't feel ready, and it's not, I mean, this isn't anxiety produced unreadiness.
Right.
Like, you're pregnant.
Yes.
This isn't like, I don't think I can do this. It's, I don't know if I'll feel well that day.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if I'll actually be able to manage. Like, let's say I have a complication the day of my exam. What am I going to do? So I would say reflect on it. And this may be one of the rare cases. I would say, if you want to reschedule, you make a plan that would make sense for you in October or November, because that's 5 months. Like I said, this is the rare time that I'm like, man, it may make sense, because I've never been pregnant. You know what I mean? So I can't tell you, like, man, you just muscle through it and it'll be, because then that's undue pressure for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would challenge your thought of, I need to do it now, and say, where's this coming from? And is it actually substantiated? Like, is this something I'm pressuring myself to do because I want something? Or is this realistic? Like, if I don't take the exam now and I have this child, I will have zero time ever, which I feel is kind of impossible not to have time ever. But again, I would suggest that you reflect on it and say, what would be my plan if?
Yeah.
Because again, the main time I tell people they should reschedule is if they have a major life event that is realistic. Like, because again, I don't like speaking in extremes. Like, I had somebody that once said that someone drove through their house the day of their exam. Like, literally, car went through their house, and they're like, I still showed up to the exam. And I was like, and you expected not to be frazzled. Okay. I can't tell you what your stress tolerance will be, but if you have major life events like pregnancy, like death, someone diagnosed with like major life conditions or medical conditions in your life, and that's not going to let you be the best version of yourself, reflect on it and say, am I willing to say that this was the best shot that I could have given at this given time? Or can I build myself up? Like you said, what will I do in the next 60, 90, 6 months of time to make myself better equipped and ready for my chance when it is my chance?
Okay.
because I think the amount of pressure where you're like, I have to do it now isn't true of now or never, because I feel like everyone's journey is different. And if you feel like it is now or never, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but I don't think that you're going to lose intelligence or become less experienced in this amount of time. But again, I've never been pregnant, so I don't know.
I don't know. The baby might have all the intelligence in it. Might be what's driving me to be smart. I don't know.
I've taken a few biology classes. I don't think that's how it works, but maybe. I've never experienced.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll be at your group tomorrow too. So
Awesome. Thank you so much. And if you need anything in the meantime, for real, I don't say this just to be like saying it. Reach out, because I do really enjoy helping in situations and would be willing to talk this out further if you wanted to, and you're like, I've reflected.
yeah.
Here's what I've come up with. What do you think about that? Because sometimes, especially if they're in your immediate life, they'll boost you up like you can run through a wall.
Yes.
They'll be like, man,
you got it. Yeah.
And then it's like someone from the outside, they're not doubting you. They're like, what's the chances of this with these circumstances?
Mm-hmm.
But
I
again,
understand that.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So I will reflect on it, and then I'll maybe email you or something if that's okay.
Yeah, easily. Yeah. And
Awesome.
yes, don't ever hesitate. That's a really cool situation that I'm glad I got the privilege to talk through, because you're like, hey, there's a lot of stress. And a part of me was like, all right, we're about to just feed it. And you're like, I'm pregnant. Well, all right.
Yes. So, all right. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Anyone else want to like process about their stuff or say anything or have any other questions before we close it down? We've been going for like 2 hours and like 15 or so minutes, which is really, really awesome. And I'm glad that people shared out. And again, thank you to Addie for being willing to share. It's always so powerful to hear like this really happened and then this is what happened afterwards. And even being able to be a part of it is touches me. I'm privileged to be able to do this. Any last minute questions that people have? Yes. Can you share info on the group tomorrow that I've been hearing about through this chat? Yes. By the time that this video posts, it'll already have been done. But then the upcoming groups are going to be 6-2 acronym and practice questions. So a lot of times people are like, how do I break down this acronym? How do I do all of this? 6-16 is going to be the DSM-5, and yeah, we'll just DSM-5. And the diagnosis we're going to be talking about is up to the group tomorrow. So keep in line with that. And 623 is going to be Freudian theory. And then 630 is going to be client interventions in communication styles, and 7-7 human developmental theories. And send me an email at berdA24@gmail.com, or in the Facebook page, click the send email, and it'll also send an email to that as well. And yeah, that is what the study group is and how that works. Thank you if anyone wants to study reflect. Yeah. And yeah, stay connected on the new Facebook group too. That's how you guys figure out about this. Yay. And it's exciting for me to be able to interact and provide any other questions before we close down shop. This is do you have an acronym for case management? No. Any other particulars? Okay. Well, if not, I am going to stop the recording. And those that watch this long, Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.